we go back to baseball, and we let it sink in because we all saw the Oakland Athletics go out with the win, which I thought was necessary.
Yeah.
Did everybody feel that way? You're like, you had to win. That's how it had to go down. If they would have lost that game, it would have been a totally different vibe, I think. They had to go out with the win. I'm so glad they did. But
I'm not going out like that.
Yeah, it was the end of an era, end of a chapter, end of a lot of our, like we mentioned yesterday, just watching the Raiders play there, the Lions on the field. That was part of like what we saw as kids. But, I didn't care about the Coliseum. Personally, as a baseball fan, yes. Can you imagine if you grew up in that area and all your teams are gone?
I posed a question to you guys when we were prepping for the show, having a little snack earlier. I said, listen, I want to make this realistic. Other than the loss of a family member, a friend, a pet, other than real stuff, is a city losing their sports franchise one of the hardest losses to take?
And I said to you, well, as a New Jersey kid, as a New York kid, I really can't relate to that on this level. So, in watching this, just as a sports fan, you're like, man, that's kind of sad.
When the
It
Browns...
was really sad. So we're asking, is there any remorse for Oakland? Do you have any remorse? Jeff Passan actually said some interesting stuff we're going to let you know about. But have you ever cried for your team in a way where it wasn't tears of joy? Right? Like, you could see, like, getting emotional because something awesome happened. But imagine how sad they must have felt yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you hear stories, like when the Cleveland Browns left, when the Colts left Baltimore, when the Sonics left Seattle, when you see these things happen, if you don't live in one of those cities, out here in L.A., there's a lot of people who are really butthurt when the Rams left. Or the Raiders, right?
Family friend of mine that is a broadcaster in the Bay Area and has been on the radio forever was there in attendance yesterday. He said he definitely shed a tear at the end on that final pitch. And we saw broadcasters for the A's in the postgame, Bip, cry, and his partner next to him was all choked up on the broadcast.
Dude,
so
I can't make fun of him because, like I said, I'm a Yankees fan. I felt sad watching it. So I can only imagine. They asked Ricky Henderson.
9 World Series championships, 15 AL pennants.
It's
crazy.
Sad. It's just sad, man. It really is, because you look at that team and you say, what happened? Because if you were a kid like us growing up in the 80s or 90s, we named the names yesterday. Everyone from McGuire to Jose Canseco, Walt Weiss, Dave Stewart, Eckersley, all the way up to Giambi. And
we touched on these things on Overpromised, our bonus podcast. If you want to check it out, Fox Sports Radio's YouTube page, because we were talking about the how the fans wanted the dirt and a little piece of the memories and all that sort of stuff.
People were ripping chairs out of Oakland Coliseum.
Right.
I saw a sad picture of home plate removed. Did you see that?
Did you see they asked Ricky Henderson, the Ricky, if he was sad?
Did you hear what he said?
Did you hear what he said?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't hear what he said?
No.
The Ricky was so the Ricky when he said, I can't be sad. I have too much money. I have too much.
So on brand.
I have too much money. Why would he be sad? He was sad about what?
It's not about Ricky.
Is that not the best answer?
You didn't hear that
talk
yet?
about a guy staying on brand.
Yeah, oh man, that was great.
Yo, Ricky, you said?
I can't be sad. I have too much money.
Well, Jeff Passan tweeted this out, and a lot of people feel this way. He said, the Oakland A's were killed by greed. Do not allow the people responsible for this to spin it any other way. John Fisher did not have to move this team. Major League Baseball and its owners did not need to be complicit in it. This was a choice, a wrong one. History will sneer.
Which may be true, right?
What a great word,
But,
sneer.
I mean, every team is gone. And you were saying, well, we all saw the overhead footage of what used to be there and what's there now and what it's going to be. It's going to be like a ghost town. It'd be like rubble eventually. What are they going to do? Leave it there?
And as far
That's all
as
coming down.
Also, as far as homelessness, crime, poverty, that area is just riddled with all of that.
Yeah.
And that's the bigger picture problem for the city of Oakland, California. I have family right outside that city, and they talk about it all the time. It's kind of like the Wild Wild West there as far as crime and everything goes. Around the actual Coliseum, it is like
It's a shame.
I can't even describe it. The last time I went, it was bad, and that was a few years back during the Raiders' last season. It's gotten progressively worse.
Yeah, listen, the Raiders left. A's are gone.
The toilets are still overflowing.
The Warriors went across the bay.
Right.
The Niners play in Santa Clara. That area, you got to hope that Something
You know
turns that
what?
part of the country around.
There were so many legendary moments inside that stadium with, look, the NFL films and everything that happened throughout the John Madden years, and then to, of course, the John Gruden era. And besides that, the Oakland A's with all those championships and famous teams in the 70s, and then the Bash Brothers in the 90s, and so many golden sports
90s,
moments. Yeah, right there. And then you had the Warriors next door at the old Oracle, and they go to San Francisco. And so, yeah, man, you lose those teams, you lose kind of the soul of that city. And so it's sad, man. I hope there's a rebirth for the entire for the East Bay. They need a rebirth.
More of a governmental sort of thing, meaning like why would you as a business owner want to keep your business, your team, your franchise, whatever it is, in a place that's just
needs to be cleaned up.
Needs to be cleaned up. Who wants to go to Oakland? Same thing is probably going to happen. I'm knock on wood. San Francisco isn't doing any better, right? So can't you understand? Like, maybe it's not just the franchise's issue; it's the city's issue.
Yeah.
It's the officials' issue.
It's
a bigger issue. Is my point, and I can't blame him for wanting to get out when it's just like, why would we want to stay here?
Yeah, but
it's not a good scene.
It feels terrible, right?
But it does. It feels horrible.
And to answer the question,
I was sad, dude.
And to answer the question, do you think? Because I think my answer is yes. Other than the loss of a family member, let me be clear: family member, human,
pet,
friend, or pet. You losing your sports franchise would probably be next on the list after a human or pet.
Yeah, and I
what would hurt your feelings? What would hurt your feelings
yesterday? We've obviously have seen other franchise leave, and we've heard these stories. Yesterday, I connected with that. Like, man, that must really suck because now they got nothing.
Oh, there's a lot of St. Louis people that feel done dirty when the Rams left St. Louis. It's a sad one, man.
It was a sad one because it's the end of an era.
Well,
we're talking about how sad it was to see that last game at the Coliseum. So cool that they won. They had a win. But it started making you think, even if you weren't a fan, like, of all the legends that came through there, how many great games you saw, the World Series in '89, like, from our lifetime, the highlights, the legends of the 70s. You're like, man, this is sad. Generations of families and friends that had moments there. Like, it's all gone. And, it just made us all think, is it okay to feel that level of sadness if your team leaves? Not everybody experiences that, but I think we all felt it a little bit watching that yesterday. Is it okay to cry in those moments? Danny G said he had friends that admitted it. Yeah, they were crying, man. They were sad.
I've only cried when my team loses, but
no, I've never. No, because that's the thing, right? I think you're really lame if you cry if your team loses.
Oh, thanks.
I really do. I think if something special happens and you get emotional, I think that's fair. I think if your team's leaving after watching that yesterday, I get that.
I think a lot of it, too, has to do with family and strong family bonds. You grow up going to the game with family members, maybe your dad, maybe your mom, your brothers, your uncles, and some of those people aren't with us any longer, but they were there to see the Bash Brothers with me when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And so those are the memories tied to that ballpark.
I agree with you completely, man.
I want everyone to close their eyes. Actually, most people are driving. Don't do that. But if you were to close your eyes, and I say Oakland A's, what do you picture? Like, if there was a montage, I picture Reggie Jackson wearing the green A's jersey, like the 70s, Reggie in green. I picture the Bash Brothers giving their like a forearm bump.
Don't forget the Giambino era too.
And I picture Eckersley's mustache.
Yeah.
I picture the
What about Raleigh Fingers mustache?
Oh, yeah.
Catfish Hunter's mustache.
What about Ricky Henderson holding the bag?
Yeah.
Then Jose Canseco 40-40 holding the bag over his head.
So many great moments. And again, we're from the East Coast. So many great moments. Makes you feel bad that it's over.
Our very own Lincoln Kennedy holding the AFC title trophy over his head as he runs into the tunnel there at the Coliseum.
So let's take one quick phone call, and then Iowa Sam's got something. And I'm going to tell you something sad that I'm going to do right after the show. Speaking of sad, Mike and Chico, you're on Covino and Rich.
Hey, man. Love you guys.
Thank
We're
you.
an affiliate for you guys. So we're also an A's affiliate, and my brother and my buddy and I happen to be there Sunday. I'm originally from New York, so every year the Yankees come in, I get the tickets and we go down. So we were there Sunday. And my buddy had only ever been to the Giants Stadium because he's a Giants fan, so he was like Is it as bad as your reputation said inside the stadium? Dude, the stadium was great, but the atmosphere was different. You could feel something was different. It was packed for that Yankee-A's game on Sunday, and it just did feel different. And I was sad. We got lost on the way back to our car after leaving the stadium.
I know what it is.
So we ended up having to walk back through, and all the posters of all the players that you guys were talking about, it was different, man. It just felt different.
Well, it's that. It's the fact that, it's over, right? But it's like, you ever been in a relationship, or maybe it's just an apartment or a house, and you know you're leaving, and you just stop caring about it, right? And you stop, but because you're moving soon.
You got a stain on the carpet, and you're like, well, I'm leaving this apartment.
You stop caring about it, but all those memories are still there, but you're leaving.
Yeah.
It's that weird feeling. Hey, thanks for sharing. Thank you, Mike. And speaking of sad, that was sad to watch. But after this show, I mean, it's not that sad, but I have to go to the collision place, I guess like the junkyard portion of it.
Oh, tell the junkyard dog I said hi.
I will. My car was totaled, right, by some jerk who hit me making an illegal turn.
I'm going to the junkyard this weekend.
No, but I have to go and retrieve. I have to go and retrieve all my personal belongings from this awesome car that I only had for a year. So I have to go there and retrieve all my personal belongings. And I was like, that's only second to, like, remember when I got divorced and I had to go and get all my stuff out of the house and you guys helped me?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was really sad.
Dude, that was miserable.
Your ex-wife was like, it's all in the garage.
Yeah.
And
guess what?
said Spot and I are carrying like cases of like CDs and old stuff he had.
And it wasn't all in the garage.
Yeah,
some of it
terrible.
disappeared.
But dude, it's like so sad. It really is.
Some of it ended up at a pawn shop, I think.
That's kind of how it was just that sad feeling of you gotta go.
It's time.
It's time.
But you know what? Listen, worse things could happen. It's all perspective, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Do you guys think that maybe sports could come back and lead the charge to revive that area? Like if a Bomber type owner was able to go in there and was like, I'm going to spend a couple $1 billion to re-energize this city right here and clean it up.
They got to fix that city before they do anything. You know what I mean? Like, because nobody wants to go there. That's how I feel about it. You're saying that maybe a team could change.
Big cities have neighborhoods and surrounding suburbs and cities that my example would be we're from the East Coast. That downtown Brooklyn area where they built Barclays.
You could say Newark, too.
Newark, New Jersey's, they try to revamp that area. There have been some dicey areas that you put a stadium, an arena, clean it up a little bit, try to add a little law enforcement.
Gentrification.
The minute you see a Starbucks and a Jamba Juice pop up, we're headed in the right direction. I mean, it's happened in other cities, but it seems like Oakland's gonna be a minute.
I think it depends on what comes first.
What's up, DB?
The toughest thing that I think is, and you talked about the city, is this is now the third team that has left Oakland. So now there's not going to be another NBA team that would join a baseball team. There's not going to be another NFL team that would want to. The point of expansion out west, I mean, with Major League Baseball, Portland has got a lot of momentum to it in that aspect. It's just, it's really tricky. I think
if you live in Oakland, do you have abandonment issues, like in general?
Right.
Believe me.
DB, to your point, though, it's a huge media market there. The population is vast, and it's a great media market to work in.
Yeah.
It just stinks that now there's such a huge void there.
Yeah, you would know better than me. I've never been to Oakland ever. So
I was a 10-year season ticket holder for the Oakland Raiders.
I've only been once, but it's really just crossing the Bay Bridge, right?
Yeah,
you cross the Bay
East
Bridge,
Bay,
and, you just cross the bay, and you're in Oakland. But
it's always been very blue collar.
Never been.
Yeah,
it's always where that was the grit, that was the identity of the old school Raiders.
So that happened yesterday, but again, at least they won. They got there, and now they got to clear their stuff out and beat it. So that was yesterday. Any remorse? Let us know.
Well, back in the 90s, didn't you hang out with MC Hammer in Oakland or no?
I wanted to. I never did, though.
Well,
look at my eyes, man.
Wouldn't that be great if Hammer still had his multi-million dollars in his bank account? Say he was a billionaire right now, like Dr. Dre. Wouldn't it be great if he said, I'm going to fix Oakland myself?
Hammer headphones instead of Beats by Dre.
Yeah. Too bad there aren't any billionaires in the Bay Area. You know,
Oh, yeah. I was
you know?
going to say, it's not like there's a whole industry based out of it.
Billionaire desert out there. Jeez.